Thanks for your company. Now, youth of Nagini in the Ashanti region have presented a petition to the District Coordinating Director, J.T. Abebio, demanding the exit of Exton Cubic Group Limited from the community. This move is to protest the exploitation of the bauxite reserves in their locality without their involvement.
What is happening today at Nagini is that we want to present a petition to His Excellency Nana Adodankwa Kufuor through the district chief executive concerning our bauxite deposit in our area.
But it seems there is a little misunderstanding here. What is really happening?
The boys are charged because we have got an information that ex-president or former president John Dramani Mahama secretly give his junior brother Ibrahim Mahama some documentation to come and do some prospecting, in which the assembly is not aware. That is why the boys are charged, and all are marching together to present our petition to His Excellency that the proper documentation must be done and presented a copy to the District Assembly.
What's the details of the petition?
The duties are we want proper documentation available at the District Assembly. Secondly, we don't know the contractor or the group who is coming to do the mining. Thirdly, who are rare owners of this bauxite deposit that we are talking about. That's why we are here, and we have learned that there are some machines at the forest, and we want the national security, the police, the DCE, the regional minister to come and take all the machines away.
You want the ones in the forest?
Ones in the forest to be taken away.
Why so?
Because the government and the sector minister has banned galamsey or small-scale mining activities, and we don't want a situation whereby something may happen to the machines and we will be blamed. That's why we want the machines to be away.
Yesterday was the machines that was in the community on the roadside, but that one has been removed. But yeah. for that one in the forest, I think nobody is going there. So why are you concerned with that?
That one in the forest is most dangerous because one in the forest, they may start mining at the night. They will start operations. That's why we want it to be taken away.
But speaking to him, he tells me that you didn't notify him that you are going to demonstrate. You said you are going to present a petition. So why are you trying to march through the town to demonstrate? Is it not a breach of?
We are not demonstrating. We are working to present our petition. So this is not a demonstration.
The District Assembly, Town and Area Council, Unit Committee, youth, and opinion leaders are respectfully and humbly appealing to you to impound the excavators, bulldozers, trucks of a company called Exton Cubic Group Limited due to their wrongfully entry to the mining bauxite at Kano-Ofe without proper documentation at the District Assembly, which is against the Local Governance Act at 2016, Act 936, Section 91, and I quote, "A person shall not carry out a physical development in the district except with a prior written approval in the form of a written permit issued by the District Planning Committee." Your Excellency, when Imponua is mentioned, it simply means group of trees, which was named after the 4 forest reserves, namely Jamina Forest Reserve, Asinayo Forest Reserve, Kano-Ofe Forest Reserve, and then Ofe Forest Shelter. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the history of Nagini bauxite is traced to the Bedema report, Ministry of Finance and Chairman of Gold Coast National Committee for Volta River Project. Your Excellency, the Bedema report indicates that the bauxite deposit at Aya, that is in Nagini, amounts to some 200 million tons, and the deposit is the 4th largest in the world. its use will last over 200 years. Ladies and gentlemen from the media, our main concern why we have put this petition against this company are the following. One, that the company has never engaged the community in social responsibility forum before. Two, that the company has not done publication in the community as mining laws require. That no parliamentary ratification approval as 1992 Constitution require under the Article 268 Clause 1. We therefore doubt the legality of the said agreement and wish to object to any attempt to grant the said company a mining license to mine the Nyinahini bauxite by the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. It is undeniable fact that the presence of Exxon Cubic Company Limited has created tension in the district. Your Excellency, there is a tension already in the district regarding chieftaincy issues. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, therefore, we are appealing to Mr. President to immediately impound and return all the machinery of Exxon Cubic Company Limited until the proper agreement is done by both stakeholders. We therefore emphatically recommend that Exxon Cubic Company Limited machines at the forest must be out of the district within 24 hours from now until proper documentation and agreements are met. Ladies and gentlemen from the media, youths, and all the people in this district, we appeal to you to exercise your patience and wait and look upon your leadership. We'll make sure the right thing is done, and whatever you deserve to have it as a district, we'll make sure we do that for you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Officially.
Expect more on this in subsequent bulletins. Away from Nyinahini, residents of Aveyime in the Volta region have threatened to attack the police station in the area on Friday as revenge for the death of a commercial motorbike rider. The community was outraged when it was reported the rider was being chased by a police pickup truck. They've already attacked the police station once, vandalizing the vehicle in the yard and seizing impounded motorbikes. Police in the vicinity say they are living in fear after the attacks, and their children are even afraid to go to school. The community members have been incensed by what they term the harassment of police in the area. Joy News' Fred Kwame Asari spoke with the assemblyman for the area, Samuel Nyamadi, and some community members. So Fred joins us on the line with details of that conversation he had. Hello, Fred.
Hello.
Before you tell us what the assemblyman said, what is the current situation in Aveyime?
For now, there is calm in the community that in Aveyime, Baton, and then people are going about their normal duties and everything seems fine. But like you rightly said, the information I got is that youth in the area are planning a similar attack or demonstration at the police station on Friday. That is the day the corpse of the mortal remains of the deceased will be collected and prepared for burial. So they are planning a similar attack on Friday. But then I spoke to the families of the police who are scared to go out to town, perhaps to go and shop in the market or do any other activity, or engage in any other activities in town. Yesterday when I said that most of them were indoors with their kids playing around instead of going for holiday classes. So their humble request now is just a transfer from the area to save their lives.
And Fred, you've been speaking to the assemblyman for the area. What has he been telling you?
Well, he told me he has collaborated with chiefs and then some opinion leaders in the area to calm situation. So they've been speaking to the youth in the area not to engage in any of such activities next on Friday. So he told me they will mobilize again and then meet the youth and then the Okada riders in the area to speak to them to ensure nothing of such nothing happens on Friday.
All right, thank you very much for the updates, Fred Kwame Asari there. Away from that, the long-standing dispute over boundary demarcation and tax revenues between the Gas South Municipal Assembly in the Greater Accra region and Ewutu Senya East Municipal Assembly in the Central region continues. Residents of Ewutu Senya district are questioning why the Gas South Assembly continues to flout the demarcation of the two assemblies. They demonstrated on Tuesday.
Yan Fakoni Bianua of sorry Fatio, Afasikan, Aka Manfoni Biafie. And no one answer the Emra, Nay, entrance as in Bion Council, Yapobia, Matoma, Yan trying, Matamosaman trying, Ye passing Dre, Obadia, Obadia, never come. Hey, Mamma, as of Maria, 12 number 1, mini penny, 12 number 2, so how? Yan break Papa Yakasano, and easy. Yan trans no more fire assassin, my first number high, no, I'm a fra, no, I'm penny for. Says, yes, yes, Uncle Crafano. Yeah.
The Director General of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, ACP David Aklu, has revealed there's a shortage of police officers across the country. Joe News has reported of complaints from different parts of the country about a small number of officers keeping the peace for a large number of people. At Zabrama in the Bonohafu region, for instance, 4 police officers have been left in charge of 20 communities. In the Upper West region, the number of officers has dropped from 1,500 to 917 after hundreds were transferred out of the region without replacement. Earlier on News Desk, we spoke to security expert Dr. Kwesi Yenin on the effect on this shortage on the nation.
People of Ghana have known that there's been a consistent shortage of police officers. But let me go back and explain this well. You know, as a nation, we have not invested in our security. And if we zoom it down to policing, what it shows that as far back as 1987, we ought to have had about 40,000 police officers if you read the Archer Commission report. Subsequent to Archer Commission in 1987, the government then brought out a white paper in 1991. Now that showed a consistent set of intervention strategies. None of those intervention strategies have been used, meaning that almost 30 years or more after Archer, we have considerably less police officers now than we ought to have had 30 years ago. So what is happening now is not a surprise. And it's not just about the actual men and women on the ground. It's about communications, it's about transportation, you know, it's about the body armor, it's about the cameras. Basically that we live in a 21st century Ghana without a 21st century police service, incapable of responding in a proactive manner to the changing dynamics of both crime, expanding populations, expanding urban areas, and of course the challenges that comes with it. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, when the 2 police officers were shot at somewhere in Accra and one of them died, and the Inspector General of Police came to plead for support. You know, a number of the public were lambasting him. But my argument was that this is a police officer who is begging and desperate for public support and an understanding of the inability of the police to do their job as optimally as possible. Now, that is not the fault of the service. David Aklu's point this morning about the numbers actually ties in quite nicely to what we've all been talking about for almost 20 years. Now, as to whether people must know that we have enough police officers, look, it's neither here nor there. We know that we don't have enough officers. The challenge is to say, how can you move almost 30% or more of the men from a particular region without having a structured process and strategy for replacing those officers. That we can engage the police service on, because it doesn't show a consistent and nuanced understanding, first, of the dynamics of crime in Upper West and the number of men who are needed to get the job done. Because if we see the context within which the northern regions are, we are seeing more crime, okay, and we are seeing the weaponization of our daily, implements, cutlasses, hoes, pickaxes, all of those things being used to commit crime. Okay, so there is no excuse for removing almost 900 men and women out of 1,500. But this is not just about the police. What did the political leadership in the region do? And I think this is where ordinary civil societies will need to raise their voice, and people will have to answer some of these tough questions. And surprisingly, we shouldn't be blaming the police alone. We should be saying, where's the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Interior? Particularly when we know that there are itinerant priests, there's extremist tendencies beginning to rise, there are people who are seeking to radicalize our populations. So what we are seeing is a consistent failure across multiple levels of authority.
Still on security issues, the Ghana Police Service says it's unfortunate they've been described as an unprofessional institution by some critics. They argue that the police cannot function effectively and meet the standard of international policing if the required resources needed by the service personnel are not supplied. Speaking at the 5th Biennial General Meeting of the Ghana Police Service, head of the transformation team of the service, ACP Dr. Benjamin Agozo, called on the government to support the police service with resources that will make the police better prepared to deliver. Richard Kojonyako reports.
The Ghana Police Service has been examining the transformation agenda of the service at the 5th Biennial General Meeting of the service at Elmina. The meeting has been looking at expectations and roles of police commanders, general issues of policing in Ghana. The service has not been particularly happy with the labeling of the police service as an unprofessional body by a section of the media. The head of the transformation team of the Ghana Police Service has been quizzing why the Ghana Police Service has been doing well in international assignments but are blamed in their own backyard. According to the head of the transformation team of the Ghana Police Service, ACP Dr. Benjamin Agozo, the police service does not have the requisite resources to execute their programs and policies and play their roles to meet the standard and expectations required.
The agenda is to equip the police service. The agenda is to tell government, it is your responsibility to equip the police service. It is your responsibility to fund us to do training and retraining so that we become professionals to serve Ghana better. Just listen to the radio station every morning, and it is one or two radio stations who bastardize the police. We are unprofessional, we are this, but nobody thinks of how we are equipped. The same policemen who are being bastardized go out and they become the best in the world. Yes. Go to African Union, they are the best. Go to the UN, they are the best. Go to ECOWAS, they are the best. What makes them best there? And yet they are unprofessional here. The difference is that they are equipped over there to work. The difference is that the systems there are working. And therefore, I don't want anybody to say police in Ghana are unprofessional. Let's say that the systems are not working.
President of the 40th Course of the Police Commanders and the District Police Commander for Achim Swedru, Superintendent Alfred Kuda, called on the general public to play their role in the combat of crime, as crime fighting remains a shared responsibility.
The issue is that crime combat is not for the police alone. It's for the entire citizenry. So they should come to the aid of the police. The criminals live among us. Even the tip-off alone will be good enough to nip criminals and then to nip crime in the bud.
Richard Kojonyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
We'll bring you more on Joy News today shortly. Please stay. Thanks for staying. This is Joy News Today with me, Benis Abubedu. The Soil Research Institute warns of increasing loss of agricultural land to poor soil management practices. Director Dr. Joseph Opoku-Fening observes over 50% of Ghana's fertile land cannot support plant growth. As a result, Deputy Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Patricia Epieje, paid a visit to the Institute's installation in Kumasi.
Iron pan is formed when minerals seep through the soil during the rainy season. The pans are drawn back to the surface in the dry season to form sheets of rock just below the topsoil. This prevents penetration of water and roots of trees, thus exposing the surface to erosion, leaving large land areas bare. It is estimated about half of Ghana's total land area is presently susceptible to iron pan formation, a situation likely to affect food production in the future.
Most places we have this problem, and it's a very serious thing, because unfortunately for us, our soils have that tendency. So if you don't manage it well, because currently the work that we've done indicate that about close to 45% of our soils have the tendency to become like this. And if we don't manage it well, when it gets to this stage, there's very little we can do, because it's so hard. But it is from the time we did the work till now, I believe there's been additions, because everywhere you go, people are degrading. People don't care. People scoop the sand, they don't care. People build anywhere, they don't care. People are doing anything at all to my house, and it is very, very critical. I believe by now we are around 50 or 55%. And what makes it serious is that our farmers, these are the land that they are using for cropping. So it's all over the place. You go to some places, you can tell from the vegetation that you don't even need to dig. You can tell when you travel from here, formally when you're going to Ejura, from before Mampong, you see forest, but now you go there now, there's no forest at Mampong going. The whole place is grassland. You know, the vegetation tells you that our soils are getting bad each day, and they are getting bad. And if we don't take serious attention, and then we think that, oh, the soil is there, the soil is there, time will come, we won't have the resources.
Madam Apj is impressed about the Institute's facility and innovation.
If I had not been here, I wouldn't have known that Atonsu in my constituency is suffering from what? Iron pan. I have seen it, and I was always wondering why we have that type of soil over there. But now, I'm well educated.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Deputy Executive Director, Finance and Administration of the National Service Scheme has advised new National Service personnel to take advantage of government's flagship programs, especially in rural Ghana. Gifty Efia Owariabuaji says personnel in remote areas are better placed to benefit from industrialization and agricultural initiatives. She was speaking at a capacity building workshop in Kumasi.
National service postings have been bedeviled with refusal of service personnel to accept remote areas. Personnel have had to troop to various centers to have their designated duty posts changed. Housing, utility and general lack of opportunity for absorption after service are some of the concerns. Madam Owariabuaji believes a rollout of government's initiatives offers options for service personnel.
Lots of opportunities in the rural areas. For instance, the free SHS project, the one district one factory projects, the issues of planting for food and jobs. There are so many opportunities in the rural areas. And you see, Ghana is open. We no more have typical rural areas. So it's about going there, venturing it, understanding your talent and your personality. And before you know, you are kept there forever.
Skills development and vision for growth are central in the training. Emmanuel S. Kenadai is Programs Manager of Facilitation Agency, Africa Internship Academy.
Basically, what we do is that we agree students, we prepare them for the various field of work. Today, we are here in Kumasi for the NSS Capacity Building Workshop to train the national service personnel to get ready for their work their various user agencies. So we started this whole process from Tamale, Boga, Sunyani, and now we are in Kumasi. The main reason why we are here this morning is to be able to let them understand the basis of what they would do at the various user agencies. So we are here this morning to teach them how to send emails, proposal writing, how to build your CV, how to attend an interviews before they go out to go and do their work in September.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, says it is well prepared to deal with any future flooding in the northern region. They say the situation where persons displaced by floods will not be housed by the organization will not occur again because safe havens have been earmarked along the stretch which is likely to experience flooding. NADMO has launched Operation Thunderbolt to deal with the flooding which will occur as a result of the opening of the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso. It's expected the dam will be opened soon as it has reached the levels that require it to be spilled. The annual spilling of the dam in Ghana's northern neighbor causes the Black Volta to overflow its banks and flood large areas in the northern part of Ghana. Deputy Director General of NADMO, Seji Saji, told Daniel Dadzi on Joy News Desk today the organization is fully prepared for the expected floods.
We have had some discussions and already education has started in the north, especially the areas that are affected when the Bagri Dam is spilled. So that process is on. What is happening is that the team is leaving Accra on Thursday to camp at Wale Wale. Yes, it's a team comprising of the district NADMO, regional NADMO, and a technical team from the headquarters, waiting, who are going to become there before the dam is spilled. And that is the operations we have termed Operation Thunderbolt.
Right. So from Thursday, have we seen enough funds voted to this planning, looking at the number of floods we've experienced this year?
Yes, I think that we have done our best given the circumstance as a disaster management organization. We have been able to reach almost all those who have been affected by disaster across the country.
So now we can say there's a safe haven in northern Ghana.
Well, when we say safe haven, we are not talking that we are not saying that disasters will not happen. When I mentioned safe haven in my earlier comment, yes.
Mr. Saji, you were saying that we do not have a safe haven in the northern parts of Ghana. Do we have that now?
No, I don't know the context in which you are using.
I'm asking of the context in which you used when you said that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to explain. That when we say safe haven, what we mean by that is that when there is a disaster and people don't have place to go, we normally designate a place, normally a public place like a church, a school, and other places where we move people to temporarily. Now, when those people are there, it's so easy to reach them with relief items like mattresses, cooking utensils, food items, administer medications, and so on. But in the northern region, the flooding situation did not necessitate that. The victims moved to the homes of their relatives. So, NADMO, we did not designate a safe haven. That is the context in which I use the word safe haven.
So, Mr. Saji, if the Bagri Dam is open today, will the affected people have places to go?
Yes, we are designating places along the route.
Meanwhile, Assistant Meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Frederick Otulabi, has revealed NADMO was aware of the floods which occurred this year as early as March. The response of the organization to some floods which occurred this year has raised questions about the preparation of the organization to disaster. Frederick Otulabi said on the program his outfit informed the authorities of the coming floods earlier this year.
As early as February, our seasonal forecasts are ready, and then it goes out to NADMO, it goes out to various ministries, departments and agencies that are in contact with us. And so Once that is done, we then expect that these agencies and these other state organizations would also take the needed action.
But are they specific enough for you to be able to tell the areas or maybe the large regions or so where we would have serious flooding?
Exactly. So we divide the country into various units, and then we do the seasonal forecast for them. Additionally, we also go out to some parts of the country, especially in the northern region, where we have we work with NGOs to reach various farmers and community people, and then we speak to them about the upcoming season, what they should expect, when the rains are expected to start, when it's expected to end, if there will be any dry spells, and the likelihoods of such events occurring. And
so what you're telling me is that as far back as February, we were aware as a nation that we would have serious flooding in the northern region, in the central region, in all the areas where we've had flooding?
Yes, we released the seasonal forecast in February, and then by end of March, everybody who needs to know about the seasonal forecast and the various advisories that we add to them is informed. By the end of March, everybody is aware. So for Northern Ghana, we have an SMS program where we send text messages to certain communities and certain opinion leaders to be forwarded to community members.
Away from disaster management and floods in the northern region, scientists at the University of Cape Coast say it will take 500 or more years to replace the topsoil being destroyed as a result of galamsey activities. These scientists want government to take a critical look at land use and save the nation from starvation if its policy on planting for food and jobs would be fruitful. On Joy News Agenda today, Richard Kojunyako looks at how good agricultural soils have been sacrificed for illegal mining activities.
But we exist because there is soil and because it rains, if you take out the air. So soil is the number one resource that any government that wants to develop has to think about.
A look at most of the lands in the central region, especially the northern part of the region, reveals many areas where cocoa and other arable crops used to thrive have been heavily destroyed. Areas in the region that offered a fresh green alternative to the bustling cities and stifling heat of the coast are no more. The farmers in these areas willfully sold all these lands that had cocoa trees, palm trees and other cash and arable crops flourishing on to galamsey miners.
It takes a long time, in fact geological periods, long time, thousands of years to have just 1 inch of good soil formed. But in most agricultural areas, or in most areas, the rate at which we are losing soil is much faster than the rate at which the soil naturally forms itself. So if you require about 500,000 to 1 million years to get one inch of a good topsoil, that means you need a number of generations to pass to be able to get a good topsoil. What it does means basically is that the little good soil you have to protect it with all that you've got. Because if we get good soils on Mars and if we get good rains on Mars, people will leave this planet and go to Mars.
Dr. David Oscar Yawson is an environmental scientist and a senior lecturer with the University of Cape Coast. Most of his researches are geared towards the environment. He warns of a looming danger in how the soil is being treated.
We need to look at what we have. A nation is made up of land and people. So we have land. And then you know that land is not infinite. It is not in abundant supply. If in the interest of securing soils and in the interest of securing natural resources in general, including the gold which sit in the soil, government must first and foremost map the soils, map your lands, and plan land use appropriately. Now, if you do that, and a landowner holds a title to a land, it doesn't matter, it's just a title to the land, but he also needs a certain permission to use the land for a certain activity. If you want to use the land for agriculture, then government must have designated that area for agriculture. So you own the land, you cannot sell it for somebody to build a house on that. If we have properly zoned our lands and planned land use and have stronger land use controls in place, then people cannot be easily buying lands for mining or for illegal mining or what have you. These things will be properly controlled. You have very good arable soils, agricultural soils that are being converted to build up areas where people are building houses. We have areas where people are building factories where they don't have to. When it comes to physical planning, you have current situation where churches are built in residential areas, and all these things bring up conflict. You need a government, an effective government, to bring these things under control. And I believe strongly that if we really want to deal with the galamsey menace or all the mining issues, environmental pollution issues in this country, we need to first and foremost look at land use planning and physical planning.
Dr. Yawson wants government to have a critical look at the land use policy in the country. He says the current practice where agricultural lands are being used for other purposes would scatter government policy of planting for food and jobs if government means business with the policy.
Now we have a flagship program in this country, planting for food, planting for jobs. And we always look around, we see plants around, so we think we have land. But it's not just every land that can be used for good agriculture. You need areas that have good soils for agriculture. And these are the areas we should target quickly, we should protect quickly, and then protect the soil all over the country.